Hi everyone, thanks again for joining us. We're just about to start our first session for sport, criminology and public services. We've got our head of department, Sarah Deacon, as well as one of our department team leaders, Rob Stocks, on. They'll be able to answer any of your questions if you do have them. So if you do have questions, just drop them in the Q&A box, which will be on the right side of your screen. But hopefully we should answer everything as we go. I'll hand over to you now, Sarah. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Welcome to the talk, and we'll answer questions, as Isabel said, at the end, for sports, criminology and public services. Our offer, don't move on to that's it, sorry. Our offer that we offer under our business unit is a foundation degree and a top-up degree in criminology and social justice, a top-up degree in public service, a foundation degree in sports science, strengthening and conditioning, a top-up degree in sports coaching and school sports, a foundation degree in physical activity and health, and we do offer a foundation degree in sports coaching and a top-up in applied sport and exercise science. Why come to UCEN Manchester? We offer a wide range of higher education courses. We are more affordable than a university onto it, but still offering good value and good quality, excellent quality, but it leaves you with less debt at the end of your course than you may take on at a university. There's excellent support via regular one-to-one tutorials with your personal tutor onto it. And alongside that, there's excellent curriculum support from all the tutors that will be delivering the different modules on the programmes that you decide to join. Supporting the curriculum is also, alongside that, outside curriculum is advice and guidance through the progression opportunities that wrap around the course called Future You onto it. We offer small class sizes, so it becomes very much one-to-one. You're a person in that course onto it. We've got high qualified staff with industrial experience that are committed to your learning. Some of the staff are actually lecturing and also still doing industry experience at the same time. We've got our own HE and adult building within where we have a HE library, a cafe for HE students, and HE and adult gym and sports lab we use for the sports courses. Just to give you an overview.
Sorry, Sarah.
Go on, Rob, do you want to do this bit?
Yeah, morning everyone. So yeah, just in terms of the teams really, so like I say, me and Sarah are sort of going to double team this presentation. So just a little bit of background on the staff. So looking at the criminology and public service side of the team. So predominantly it's made up of 3 members of staff with industry experience. So you've got Bill Mundy, who was an ex-police inspector for over 30 years in the Greater Manchester Police. And obviously he specialises a lot around the sort of criminal law aspect and offender management. We've got Donald Entwistle, who's a former director at Tameside Council, brings loads of experience around sort of politics and sort of council based provision. So Don does a lot around youth work as well. And then you've got Angela Tobin, whose academic background really looks at sort of criminology and specific areas into sort of domestic and sexual violence, and predominantly focuses on equality issues, including feminism. But in terms of sport and exercise science team, there's predominantly 5 of us within the team. So you've got myself as the department team leader, Rob Stocks. So my background was very much in nutrition, where I worked previously as a nutritionist and dietitian in the health sector, and obviously working mainly in sports science now, around nutrition and physiology, particularly around improving performance. You've got Julian Monk, who has over 26 years experience working predominantly in strength and conditioning. So he's one of the top assessors with the UK SCA. He's worked with a plethora of sort of sports teams, including Liverpool Football Club, and currently still works with a lot of athletes around strength and conditioning. You've got James Barraclough, who brings a psychology background, into our higher education. So he's worked within several sort of sports backgrounds, mainly football, where he's also worked within coaching, but his main background is looking at psychological improvements in performance. You've got Wilson Rushton, who predominantly focuses on our coaching and athlete development. So his background is mainly around boxing. So he's looked at sort of conditioning, again, strength and conditioning around sort of different levels of performance. And then you've got Jeff Bolwin in the department, who focuses mainly on the health side, mainly around the exercise, physical activity, fitness elements. So he's previously worked in New York on Wall Street as a personal trainer, predominantly now more focuses on the health side of our sport provision. So in terms of criminology, just as a quick overview, predominantly what we're looking at is looking at different sort of criminal justice systems, how they work, whether it's working with offenders, victims, sort of provide a wide range of experiences, looking at inequalities in society. So obviously this is quite an evolving area, because obviously it depends on sort of trends in what's happening nationally and locally at the moment. So alongside sort of industry sort of changes at the moment, also we're looking at developing skills which you would take into industry. Okay, on the public service side of things, we're mainly looking at a BA honours top up here. So this would start at level 6 for September. So usually what we find is a lot of students bring a wide variety of experiences to our public service department. So this can range from anything really, when you associate public services, to aspects such as the police. There are avenues you might be associating a degree with. Also you might look at the non sort of uniform services, so possibly going into sort of like local government, whether that's council based work. So again, this will cover a wide variety of areas, including contemporary issues, conflict and cohesion, alongside your dissertation study. In terms of the first foundation degree we offer from a sport point of view, this is the one I'm mainly associated with, which will be the foundation degree in sports science. So we're currently looking to adapt our sports science foundation degree to start in September 2021. So we're really looking to focus around strength and conditioning. So many reasons for that. If you look at sort of industry needs, from a health and fitness aspect, obviously strength and conditioning is the main area. A lot of professional athletes and professional sports clubs are now focusing on in terms of adapting training methods. So in terms of the 3 main disciplines associated with sports science, we do cover these in terms of physiology, biomechanics and psychology. So again, you get a real sort of feel of the main aspects in sports science. So we tend to find this course is very popular with students, especially looking at the physiological testing. For example, you can see in the picture using Douglas bags for gas analysis, which we can then do all sorts with, including indirect calorimetry, where we can start looking at calorie expenditure, macronutrient utilisation. So again, we do a lot of testing around athletes and training to adapt that. The next area, which would be our foundation degree in sports coaching, which would obviously start at level 4 and progress on to second year to level 5. And then you can complete with a BSc honours at level 6 in a sports coaching and school sport degree. So within this, obviously, it's a very much hands-on aspect. So we're looking at developing your coaching skills, obviously, different levels of athletes, different types of people you might be working with. So a real sort of emphasis on your sort of development as a coach. Alongside obviously some of the more theoretical aspects, including scientific aspects of the body and also sports psychology. So alongside this, we use different sort of sports clubs, facilities, both on-site and off-site, to deliver this programme. The third foundation degree we offer is currently an exercise health and fitness degree, but again in 2021 we are revising this to be exercise, physical activity and health. So this foundation more focuses on the benefits of activity and exercise, but from a health perspective. So it might not be looking at developing elite level athletes, but if you look at the general sort of population and health statistics out there, obviously diabetes is a massive illness at the moment, and treatments through exercise and physical activity are obviously a massive avenue for that. So what we're predominantly looking at is people through exercise referral and how we can use adaptations in physical activity and nutrition to improve health of the nation. And then our last top-up degree, so this will be a level 6, will be a BSc Honours in Applied Sport and Exercise Science. So this is our most popular level 6 at the moment. So across this course, where we attract students who are coming very much from a science background or looking at performance development, whether that's through nutrition, strength and conditioning, or the physiological testing, but also it's pitched towards the health side as well. So we sort of get 2 avenues we're focusing on, which is the sport and exercise science and health route. So within the modulars you'd study, we've actually got optional routes here just because of how popular the course has become. So you could be looking at doing advanced strength and conditioning, really looking at the next sort of level of using strength conditioning and athlete programming. You could use the nutrition route, where we look at nutrition from both an improvement in performance and improvement in health, or possibly you might be selecting corrective exercise, where you're looking at adapting movement analysis to improve performance or health within an individual. And these modulars always sit alongside your negotiated research or dissertation-based unit. Okay, so obviously, in terms of the next areas, so in terms of sort of things you might be looking at, so in terms of sort of study questions here, so obviously I think the key thing is coming in at degree level. Obviously you should be focusing, you know, predominantly hopefully getting towards a level 6 and dissertation level. So we're always asking you to pose questions and things you might be considering. So we've just put up a few examples here about things we look at and potential study students might be going down. So you've got the first one there. What does it take to train effectively for a marathon? So obviously there's a wide variety of factors there. Most people would focus on the physical training, but again, the psychological aspects, the nutritional training, periodization. So these are the sort of areas students have looked at. Obviously one which I'm more closely linked to, the bottom one there, exactly how does what you eat affect performance. So it's a massive avenue there and something we spend a lot of time looking at. So these are the sort of questions students might be looking at if they're focusing around sort of dissertation level study. Okay, so I think that's a quick sort of overview from myself. So obviously at this stage we would open it up to questions. So I think there's been a question box set up so we can run through them, or if anyone wants to ask us anything, I'm sure myself and Sarah can answer them.
Well, thank you very much for that, Rob. Yeah, we have had a few questions through. I'll start reading them now. We've got one question. What are your plans for having us on campus to do practical components of the course?
Do you want me to answer that one, Sarah?
You can do, Rob, yeah.
Yeah, obviously we're in a very unique situation, obviously with the COVID situation. So what we've looked at as the department managers, we've looked at several sort of options. So obviously we're waiting further government guidance, you know, where we will be in September. No one knows, in a couple of months. So obviously the last thing we want to do is it impedes on students' study. So what we've looked at is several sort of models and how we could deliver it. So in terms of potential options we're looking at the moment is obviously reducing student class sizes for theory, for more practical based testing aspects. So again, obviously anything which is done in the lab, we'll have clear risk assessments, obviously health checks we're going to have to do with anyone entering that environment. But one of the aspects we would do is we do a reduced class size, putting health measures in place, because the last thing we want to do is you don't get the full degree level experience. So again, you know, everything is fully risk assessed, and obviously especially through gas analysis, again, obviously these issues with that. Obviously, so we have adhered to social distancing and we will reduce class sizes. Also, we're looking at models where some aspects will be delivered remotely from home, similar to what we're doing now, hopefully be a little bit more interactive, where we can deliver key aspects of theory, where potentially you don't always need to be face-to-face. We will be doing probably a blend of sort of face-to-face practical-based activities, and then obviously remote-based learning, if that answers the question.
Thank you. We've got another question here. How do you know which sport course is best? Is one a bit more general?
Oh, right. Right. None of them are best, or there's not one above the other. I think the key thing we always say is do what you're most interested in. So, you know, focus on what you're most passionate about, really. So in terms of the three pathways we do, we've obviously got the sports coaching, we've got the sports science, we've got the exercise, health and fitness. So I suppose the key thing is we would never tell you what to do, but it'd be really looking at them and think, actually, that's what I'm interested in. I think they all lead to good careers. So rather than you think about the end product, just think generally when you look at those topics, what you're most interested in. So if you're sort of more hands-on, you want to be involved with people, coaching might be the better route. If you're more sort of focused around sort of like, how can I put it, populations with sort of looking at disease treatment or illness treatment, obviously we'd look at the exercise, health and fitness. But if the human sort of anatomy and sort of the science and the wonder of the body is something you're interested in, then we would suggest looking at sports science. So ultimately, I think they're all as good as each other. It's choosing the one you think you're most passionate about.
Thank you. That's a really good response. I hope that answers the question. Somebody else has asked, if I've worked in the industry already, can I just do the top up?
Oh, that's normally we'd say no. So I'll just explain that and then look at potential avenues with that. So obviously with all our courses that are delivered through Manchester Metropolitan University within the sport criminology and public service provisions we offer. So obviously typically university you would spend 3 years getting to level 6. So you'd accrue credits along the way. So to complete level 4, you need to gain 120 credits. To go on to level 5 or your second year, again, you need another 120 credits, and then get up to the top up, the level 6 or our top ups, where in total you had 360 credits at the end of it. So the reason why we don't normally bypass levels based on industry experience is just so we've got that parity about university levels and obviously where we've been. And again, obviously it's a stepping stone of learning key criteria to get up there. So normally we don't sort of use that process. Now we can look at very exceptional factors. So I'm only aware maybe once in my sort of career in HE where someone has brought a massive range of experience and they have missed one level. So I think to go from level 3 to level 6, we will probably say no, just because it's a huge leap. And again, students who have, I don't want to use the word, earned their way up there, you know, to show they have gained all that knowledge. So normally we would say no, but we would always look at it on a case-by-case basis if you think that's a fair response, Sarah.
Yeah, that's a fair response. Yeah, it's making sure, yeah, you've got work experience, which is valuable, but it's making sure that you're meeting the academic criteria as well for level 4 and level 5 for any entry onto any points onto it. So you're normally looking at, you probably get enough experience to match against the level 4 learning outcomes, but not necessarily the level 4 and level 5 as a total to get on the top up degree. But it's something we'd talk to somebody if they were interested to see if there's any options, because you might have other qualifications at that level of professional courses that you've done in your career as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Somebody said, I'm doing a BTEC level 3 in health and social care. What results will I need for the foundation degree in criminology for 2021?
In terms of our entry criteria, the typical UCAS point is 64 UCAS points. So if it's a BTEC, I'm just trying to do the maths top of my head, so I'll just look on my phone. I think that's equal to a merit profile. So I will double check that, and I can come back to it in a second. So I think it's normally about a merit profile we would look for, which would equate to 64 UCAS points.
Great, thank you. Somebody else has said, how much science is involved in the performance course? Do I need a science qualification to do this?
I'm taking it that's the Sports Science and Human Performance Foundation degree.
They've not specified, but yeah, I would presume that as well.
No, I wouldn't be scared by science. I think sometimes, obviously, people see the word science and think, oh, you know, it's sometimes what your experiences of school science might be around, you know, sort of biology, chemistry and physics. But I think I wouldn't worry. A lot of our students who do really well on the sports science foundation degree, they don't generally come from a sciencey sort of background. A lot of them have come from industry based experience, you know, and we're then looking to get the degree under the belt. So having a science background isn't, it's, how can I put it, it's not the be all and end all. I think the key thing is if you've got a real sort of interest within sort of the human body, you know, your anatomy, possibly your nutrition, and also training, I think you'll know a lot more than you realise. So a lot of people who come on the course who come from a real sort of strong sort of like fitness background, they sort of know half the stuff anyway, just because you're practicing it in what you're doing. So I wouldn't be scared by the word science. It's not an essential criteria.
Okay, thank you. Somebody said, what kind of careers does criminology lead to?
Okay, yeah, so in terms of the criminology background, courses, sorry, in terms of where they end up, the students who have done that over the last couple of years, they've ended up in a wide variety of careers. So the first thing a lot of them will look at is obviously whether they want to progress on to master's level study. So that's obviously something we're always really keen to push people to, you know, keep going academically as high as you can. In terms of careers, we've had people go into sort of youth-based work. So whether that's working with young offenders, we've worked with sort of like local councils and looking at basically working for local authorities as well. So again, youth work's a big one. We've had people work with youth offenders as well. We've had other people possibly look to go down specific services. So for example, policing is something where students have also gone through. Yeah, so there's a wide variety of backgrounds which our students progress to.
Okay, thank you. Somebody said, can you choose to do your dissertation / research on anything?
Yes and no. It's obviously got to be related to the area. So obviously within sport, if someone said I want to do a dissertation around hairdressing, we'll say, listen, it's not in the field. So that's a real extreme example. But what we would do, it's basically anything in the field really. What we don't do is say you have to do it in a set area. Obviously the dissertation is you choosing someone you're interested in and what you want to specialise in really. So we're not going to hold you back on that. I suppose our role as a dissertation supervisor is to supervise you and guide you along the way. And, you know, if something isn't appropriate, you know, we will direct you in a better avenue. So, for example, on the sports side this year, we've had dissertations. I think we've had a total of about 25 dissertations come in this year. They've ranged from everything from looking at glucose mouth rinsing effects on cycling. We've had people have looked at home advantage versus away advantage in football criteria. We've had people looking at the effects of foam rolling in injury prevention. We've had people look at the effects of yoga in reductions of sort of hypertension risk factors. We've had people looking at physiological testing, looking at fasted state, macronutrient utilization against carbohydrate loading. So literally any topic it's within the field we would encourage you to look at. And again, across the area, you'll be allocated a supervisor with specialism within that area.
Great, thank you. Some really good examples there as well. Somebody else has asked, going back to criminology, are there work placements during the foundation degree in criminology? And if so, could you give some examples, please?
I think in terms of the placements, what we look at is on the foundation degree, we do a unit in the second year called practice-based research. So that's very much a two sort of angle approach we're taking with that unit. So the first thing is it's looking at developing your academic skills to get you up to sort of level 6 dissertation level. So it's almost a bit of a practice run really to get you ready for that dissertation at level 6, developing your academic sort of writing and research skills. And I suppose the other avenue we're trying to promote within that unit is, again, your industry-based experience. So within that unit, we'll really encourage you to get out there and experience and gather sort of live data and information within a sort of practical setting. So within examples there, what we've had is we've had a couple of people who've gone and excuse me, but we've looked at doing sort of qualitative based research, and we've interviewed sort of like local workers and looked at different scenarios within the sort of Manchester region. We've had other people gone in, again, looking at youth work and youth crime, and we've looked at implementing strategies around that within their already sort of placement-based settings. So it's not mandatory, but they have to do it. Again, it's very much led by what you want to do and where you want to go. So there isn't like you have to do, say, a minimum 50 hours. It's not that sort of course. It would be very much looking at, well, what's your project idea and what's relevant in terms of industry-based experience for it.
Great, thank you. Somebody else has said, will I be able to qualify as a PT as part of the sports course?
Officially no, but yes. So I'll explain what I mean by that. In terms of the foundation degrees and top-ups, they're obviously separate degrees. Now, what we do alongside them, we do offer adult-based gym instructing courses. So if that's something you wanted to do, some of the courses are aligned, to Active IQ. So, for example, the exercise health and fitness course is aligned to meet the criteria for the level 2 certificate in fitness instruction. So, obviously, alongside the course, there will be the practical assessments to do after, and obviously Ben just probably paying the registration fee. So in terms of, no, it doesn't directly award it you, but they are embedded alongside the course. So if it's something you wanted to do, we would affiliate the two to each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Somebody else has asked, how much study is required out of classes? Can I do the course and work at the same time?
In terms of the balance, it all depends on the person, I suppose. Every now and again, we do get some students who make the mistake where they don't dedicate enough time outside of the degree course. Now, obviously, our goal is to sort of guide you and help you along the way, but ultimately, we can't do it for you. So typically, we would always encourage people to be working anyway, because obviously that's the nature of foundations, the nature of the degrees, and whether it's industry experience or financial commitments with families, we are, we do acknowledge that. So in terms of the balance, I think maintaining a full-time job and trying to do a degree would never work, but getting that balance right. So what we always say is it's dedicating at least a minimum sort of day study outside of the course at level 4, and then each year it's picking it up. So in the second year you might be looking at 2 days study, and then in the third year, level 6, where it gets really sort of heavy, then sometimes a lot of students pull in their work to possibly just 1 day a week to really focus on that degree. Because I think the other thing is the degree, you've got it for life, so it might be making a few sacrifices for a year or two, but ultimately, that could set you up for the next 30, 40 years. So it is getting that balance right. But yeah, we would always encourage people to maintain work, but it's looking at pulling it in a little bit to focus on your degree studies.
Thanks, Rob. You made some really good points there. And we've got one final question. Somebody said, if there are no COVID restrictions, how much time is typically spent on campus for the Criminology Foundation degree?
Oh, okay. If there's no restrictions, typically our courses are, top of my head, help me out, Sarah, 15 hours a week, 16 hours a week at level 4. So how we would split that is, it's 4 modulars. So at level 4, you would do 4 units across the year. So all our MMU units, whether it's sport, public service or criminology, they all do at level 4 and 5, they do 4 units across the year. So from week 1 to 28. So that allows us to really sort of spread it out and teach it. So for example, on the criminology, you would do a unit called Criminology and Practice. You would do politics. You'd also do your PadPID research, and then you would do a 4th unit, which I can't remember top of my head, apologies for that. So you do basically 12 hours a week in terms of modulars, and then we have 3 hours a week, which are dedicated to what we call curriculum essentials tutorials. So I suppose that's one of the big bonuses of our foundation degrees is we do dedicate a lot of time to you as students and people. My experience at uni was I'd be sat in a lecture fit with 200-300 people, and you don't ask a question, and you possibly didn't get that sort of one-to-one time. So Yeah, we dedicate a good sort of 3 hours in year one to tutorial support, helping you academically, and yeah, just helping you along the way really. So typically at level 4, it's 15-16 hours a week, spread over 2 days a week, and 2.5, sorry. And then at level 5, it would be 12 hours curriculum, 1 hour tutorial, again trying to fit it around sort of 2.5 days a week, if that answers the question.
Great, yeah, thank you. And we have just had a couple more questions come through. Somebody else has said, is it harder to study as a mature student?
I wouldn't say so, no. I think they're bringing their experience in with them, and they're more dedicated to want to study and can get better results out of it. So I think it's that confidence of starting initially, but I think a mature student with work experience brings a lot more into the classroom and into their own study. I don't know if Rob, you agree with that?
Yeah, I was going to use the example, I'm talking about, Sarah. There's a guy who's just completed his foundation in sports science, a guy called Rob, who's a little bit older, in his mid-40s. I remember when we first met him, he was very much saying, I'm rubbish at IT and I'm not quite sure of this, but honestly, he's the most intelligent student I've ever taught, in terms of his knowledge on physiology, and, it's scary really, and I think what we find a lot of mature students is the knowledge is there. It's just working more on a confidence aspect. So I don't think you're never too old to do anything. So I'd say actually some of our better students, hate to use that term, who come out with the first class degrees are a little bit older. Yeah, so I think they do excellent with us.
Great, thank you. And last question, somebody said, what is PadPID?
Professional and academic development. So it's a unit which we do across all MMU courses. So it's very much looking at your academic skills, academic writing, your researching, referencing. So we use the Harvard system with MMU, and if we're saying to you in level 6, you need to go off and do like a 7,000-8,000 word dissertation project, and it sounds big and scary. I think the PAD unit is very much developing the skills from day one, which will need to be successful on a degree-based course.
Great, thank you very much. So that looks like all of our questions. Is there anything else you two would like to add?
I think the one thing, like Rob said, his experience and my experience as HE courses was sitting in a lecture and just being lectured at for an hour, and then going into probably groups of 20 where you were discussing stuff. I think the one thing at UCEN, because we're smaller groups, they're classed, I call them interactive lectures, because you're not just sitting there listening to the lecturer talking to you. There's discussions and activities taking place all the time. So it's very much a supportive, interactive lecture that, yes, the lecturer might talk to you for 20 minutes, but in that there's discussions and your involvement as well onto it. That is a benefit of doing HE in an FE college.
Great.
That meets the needs of individuals more.
I think you've made a really good point there, Sarah. I was just going to pick up on that, and I think the key thing I always say to the students I teach for the units I do, I think ultimately what I want at the end of your courses, I shouldn't be there, in terms of the stuff you're doing. It's gaining those practical industry skills. So obviously we do a lot of stuff in the lab, using Douglas bags, Cortex metallizers, looking at lactate levels. So ultimately what we want is we teach you the skills that you go off and do it, so it is a hands-on, so you could go off in a job and work with those athletes. I think we always say our goal is by the end of the course, you should be confident. You don't need us, you should be out there doing it yourself.
Great, well, thank you for that, both of you. I will close the session now. If anybody would like to find out more about UCEN Manchester, we've got lots of live events from all of our different subject areas taking place this week and next. So head to our website, ucenmanchester.ac.uk, to find out more and register to attend those. And thank you very much for attending this session this morning. If you do have any questions about a particular course, if you want to find out any more information, we have just popped our contact email in the question and answer box. So if you want to just head to that, and you can contact us there. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you Rob and Sarah for a really great session. It was really informative. I hope everybody learnt a lot and took away from it what they needed to. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and yeah, see you later. Bye.
Cheers, thank you.